The ultra-woke mayor of Chicago refuses to grant interviews to white reporters, all as leftism begins to collapse. In this video, we're going to take a look at the shocking admission by the ultra-left mayor of the imploding city of Chicago, how the left-wing activists disguised as journalists in the mainstream Marxist media are actually defending her, and how even liberals are admitting that all this wokeness is only ultimately going to destroy the left. You're not going to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you. As always, we are your daily antidote to fake news. As each and every day, we analyze current events in light of larger conservative trends to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we begin, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's BioTrust and their awesome immune system supporting product, Ageless Body. You know, with our rapid advances in science over the years, there are much more powerful and effective ways to boost our immune systems than just taking mega doses of vitamin C. In fact, our sponsors over at BioTrust have combined 4 of the world's best immune supporting powerhouses along with that mega dose of vitamin C into their #1 immunity support product, Ageless Body. Simply put, Ageless Body provides you 5 of the most powerful immune support ingredients available, and best of all, if you click on that link below today, you can now get Ageless Body at their lowest price ever, 51% off with free U.S. shipping to boot. So do not wait. Click on that link or go to agewithsteveturley.com. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. You know, the ultra-leftist Chicago mayor, Lori Lightfoot, is making headlines today after she not only revealed but also defended her decision to grant interviews only to so-called journalists of color. Local reporters from NBC5 Chicago reported earlier this week that they were being denied interview requests with the mayor, astonishingly, because the reporters were the wrong skin color. Chicago reporter Mary Ann Anhern tweeted out on Tuesday, quote, "As Chicago's mayor reaches her 2-year midway point as mayor, her spokeswoman says Lightfoot is granting one-on-one interviews only to black or brown journalists." Other journalists in the Chicago area chimed in saying the same thing happened to them. And when confronted with this appalling accusation that she was rejecting interview requests basically solely on the reporter's race, the Chicago mayor not only admitted to the practice, but actually doubled down on it, tweeting out on Wednesday, quote, "It's a shame that in 2021, the City Hall press corps is overwhelmingly white in a city where more than half the city identifies as Black, Latino, Asian American, or Pacific Islander, or Native American. Diversity and inclusion is imperative across all institutions, including media. In order to progress, we must change." And so she continued, "This is exactly why I'm being intentional about prioritizing media requests from people of color reporters on the occasion of the 2-year anniversary of my inauguration as mayor of this great city. This is an imbalance that needs to change. Chicago is a world-class city. Our local media should reflect the multiple cultures that comprise it. It's time for the newsrooms to do better and build teams that reflect the makeup of our city." Well, while that kind of rhetoric may be well received among our cultural Marxist media and our permanent political class, the vast majority of our nation is rightly aghast at such blatantly racist sentiments. You'll definitely want to check out a video I just uploaded on Joe Rogan pushing back against this kind of wokeness, because I give you a deep dive into the whole notion of what's called repressive tolerance, which this Chicago mayor is drinking deeply of. That's going to be really informative for you. But in the meantime, I think Tucker Carlson spoke on behalf of the not-so-silent majority anymore, and he certainly didn't mince words. Tucker called Lightfoot, quote, "a monster," and likened her and her racist ideology to that of Nazi fascism. Quote, "To Lori Lightfoot, all that matters is the fact that they're white, because all white people are the same. They are entirely defined by the color of their skin." You can see how this makes life a little easier for Lori Lightfoot. She knows who to hate just by looking at them. If someday the Chicago police were to round up the entire population of the city, Lori Lightfoot would have no trouble pulling the right ones out of line for punishment. By the way, in case you were wondering, yes, that was a Nazi reference. It was deserved. Lori Lightfoot is a monster. Any society that allows politicians to talk like this has a very ugly future ahead. Very ugly. Now, if Tucker thought that such obvious logic would even remotely persuade the leftist activists disguised as journalists in our mainstream Marxist media, he was sorely mistaken. Literally on cue, so-called media journalists went on the attack, not against Mayor Lightfoot, but instead against Tucker Carlson. Take a look at this headline from the leftists over at the Daily Beast. Tucker Carlson whines that monster Lori Lightfoot would happily round up white people for punishment. Politico reported that Lawrence Bulletin, executive director of American Jewish Committee Chicago, called Tucker's commentary, quote, disgusting and evil. In fact, a number of so-called journalists actually praised Mayor Lightfoot. Mary Mitchell of the Chicago Sun-Times publicly commended Lightfoot for bringing awareness to the media's lack of diversity, saying, quote, the lack of diversity is a subject that newsrooms have wrestled with for decades. Lightfoot just dragged it out into the light of day for the public to see. Now, it's obvious that with such headlines and commentary that the mainstream media has gone off the deep end. And they're far too arrogant and ideologically infested to even remotely notice just how radical they've become, or perhaps better, they do recognize how radical they become, and they're all for it. You see, one of the things we've got to understand about the threat the left poses to our nation is the connection between political correctness and justified violence. And I want you to think about it. What's the real difference, when all is said and done, about the rioting at the Capitol building in D.C. in January and the rioting that burned so many of our cities over the summer? Well, when you strip away all of the superficial variables away, the real difference is that the riots over the summer were done, supposedly, according to the monolithic, trance-like euphemisms spewed out by our mainstream media, they were all done in the name of social justice. In other words, cities were being burned precisely because politically correct norms were being violated. Systemic racism permeated our law enforcement, so we were told this is an act of violence against justice and equity, and that alone justified a reaction of violence. The violation of politically correct norms justifies violence, quite literally of any kind, even the violence of blatant racism. Think it through. Can you imagine? Could you even remotely conceive of what the collective reaction would be among our permanent political class if President Trump had so much as even hinted that he would only speak to white reporters? Can you even imagine the level of outrage, the demands for immediate impeachment that wouldn't just come from our media and the Democrats, but from the rhino Republican establishment? But we have to understand this is because such a scenario has no politically correct backing. If it did, then Trump's actions would be allowed. They'd be justified, even although they would be blatantly racist. And don't take my word for it. Just read the so-called reporters justifying Lightfoot's blatant discrimination. Every ounce, every word of such justifications is rooted in critical race theory and culturally Marxist-infested conceptions of American history and society. Literally every single word. And if the cultural Marxist vision of social justice, as enforced by political correctness, is violated at any point and at any level, then canceling those guilty of such violations is absolutely justified. And if you don't justify it, then you're worthy of being mocked and ridiculed and vilified, just like they're doing to Tucker. The problem for the left, however, is more and more people have had enough with this. More and more people are truly waking up. And that even includes a number of liberals. But before we get into that, I am so excited to invite you to our brand new Patriot Entrepreneur Live event that we're holding on June 4th and 5th. It is a virtual conference, so you don't even have to leave the comfort of your own couch, and you can secure your seat simply by clicking on the link below. So if you're looking to be a Patriot entrepreneur, right, and you're currently frustrated and feeling trapped in your woke job, you're passionate about your work, but you're disheartened about your woke environment, or perhaps you're a current business owner who wants to take your impact to the next level, then you are going to absolutely love our upcoming Patriot Entrepreneur Live. I have invited top conservative entrepreneurs to join me and share their wisdom with you as together we build a world of freedom without sacrificing our callings and talents. Now, prices are about to go up, okay? They're going to go up right before the conference, so you do not want to wait on this one. Make sure to click on that link below before prices go up, and I'll see you for a weekend that promises to be a game changer for your life like never before. All right, gang, we recently did a video that you definitely want to check out about the liberal leader Tony Blair, warning his fellow leftists that they are indeed in danger of going extinct, particularly in Europe. And we give you all the data that this liberal leader amasses to show that leftism is collapsing all throughout the world. And yes, he said that even includes America as well. And one of the things that he said that's killing the left is their current fetish with the wokeness of identity politics. And that's because, quote, while people may dislike prejudice, they dislike every bit as much extremism in combating prejudice. You see, that's what the modern day left doesn't understand. The American people, and the European people as well, may certainly be very concerned about social injustices and inequities, but that concern does not in any way, shape, or form translate into far-left cultural Marxist radicalism. And so the left, in actually defending practices that are indicative of the very racism that they supposedly denounce, the left is losing. And that's the assessment of one of the most successful liberal politicians of the last 30 years, Tony Blair. Every time the mainstream media cheerleads this radical nonsense, they hammer another nail in the coffin of the future political left. So go ahead, Mayor Lightfoot. Keep spewing out your racist absurdities, and by all means, mainstream media, keep cheerleading for such odious ideologies. According to some of your own ilk, it's only going to hasten the day that your ideology politically implodes. Now, before you go, make sure to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it. You are going to love this. It's on the amazing elections in the state of Pennsylvania this week. For the first time ever in our nation, citizens have voted to strip their governor of emergency powers. That's what happened in Pennsylvania. It was nothing less than a patriot uprising against their far-left governor, saying we are done with this lockdown, we want to return to normalcy, and we're going to strip you of your powers in order to get there. You're going to absolutely love it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.